Yay, our turn. We're live.
So what you may not realize is if you type in TWTT into Google, it will give you a result for Twitter. Because I was trying to go to Twitter, and apparently my fingers were like, just head over to TWTT, and that'll
if
get
you misspell it, it takes you there. That's nice.
How's it going, beautiful people? We are getting ready for Linux Weekly Daily Wednesday, episode 395. Got a couple of things for you this afternoon. Right at the top of the show, we're going to be addressing a little bit of a security snafu, a little bit of an incident in the Snap store that went on last week. And there's a new version of Auto CPU out, the first one in after about 4 years. And if you don't know what Auto CPU is and you own a laptop, you should.
You should, yeah.
PreSonus, that audio stuff I talked about last week. Well, I had a chance to try it out, made a video and an install guide for it. I'm going to hit you over the head with that. Then we're just going to spend the last half of the show talking about a little thing called Pi.
Yes. Hey,
everyone. Hi. Let me get on the right shot. Everyone. There we go. Pre-show. Now I can do some social media stuff. Twitch.tv.com. Where does Twitch.com end up? I know it's not Twitch.
Oh, yeah. I think I've done that before.
Oh, yeah. Long time ago, though. Because everything was .com. And Twitch TV was like one of the first...
.tvs, yeah.
Well, like top-level domains that wasn't a .com that I normally would have to type in, right?
Yeah.
You think about it, like pretty much everything else has been .com. Of course, everybody's had like one or two websites that would be like a .org or a .net. But a .tv, you're like, it took a long time to get that muscle memory of like Twitch.tv. So, favorite host?
Oh, hi, Joe.
Man, I saw Joe's trying to hawk his, what are you trying to sell, Joe?
Yeah, it was busy in general.
Joe's out in
6900. Okay.
Houston 6900 XT. Let's see, live in the pre-shows. Is that last? Yeah, the new ones are 7,000, right?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
Like I have the 6950 XT, the one that was released a few months after the 6900.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but that was the last one in the 6000 series.
So much copy and pasting.
Copy pasta.
That's it. Control A, Control V, sometimes Control Shift V.
Yeah. We've learned that from our show notes.
That's then every now and then you find out, you're like, well, it's in the other mysterious clipboard that's on my system. When you go to Control V and you're like, I guess I got a middle click maybe to get that. Oh, there it is.
Yeah. I'm such in a habit of using the middle click that I sometimes don't use the keyboard commands. Just habit.
Well, you can end up
X window managers.
Two different, because you do have two different keyboards.
Absolutely.
Not keyboards, but clipboards.
Yeah, I used to use that to great effect when doing animation, like using Maya and then using other programs. I'd use middle click for one and keyboard shortcuts for the other. Come in handy. Hi, Scott! Scoots!
Hello, Scott Mashodio.
Scott Mashodio.
All right. Yeah, we're pretty much got everything. Got about 6 minutes before we're going to get going.
Okay, I'm going to go get some water. I need water.
I am... What am I looking for? All right. There we go. Backspace that. And what are you doing right now, Joe? Writing technical documentation, the fun part of the job. Like, this is how I fix this. So it could be buried somewhere in a PDF on the intranet for the company. Oh, man. Fun times. Where is, you would think I would know how to use Discord at this point, right? You would only be partially correct. You know what? It's not Discord. It's using the Discord app. I only use the Discord app. And let's say app with air quotes all around it, right? I mean the Electron wrapped desktop app for Linux. So sometimes it takes me a minute to fumble around in that. Yeah. You know, the one with the latest and greatest, most up-to-datest version of Electron? No, that's true. No, that's true. But you gotta get this mobile app. Now, let's be perfectly clear. I'm not a champion of the mobile app, especially not, what was it, like, let's say over the last 8 months where they've changed it 3 or 4 times. I'm kind of neutral on the mobile app. Like, it does. Here's my experience with the mobile app. I leave it running with a Twitch video and a window over it. That's usually like the breakfast nook or a kitchen tablet. We'll have that set up for background noise, and when I'm walking by, I can come in and say, like, what are you guys up to in Discord? Have you heard about Matrix? Come on, people are slipping. Yes, there we go. That is one Discord app and the Steam app. As clunky and slow as the new Steam app is, that QR code thing is worth it, isn't it? You're like, oh, I need to sign in. Where's that? I like that. Pretty big fan of it. What am I up to? We need to bring back ICQ. We need a modern ICQ client with What do we need in modern chat systems? If we're making modern chat, what do we need? We gotta have voice chat, right? So we gotta do that. We gotta have emojis. Chat's useless without animated GIFs. Yes, Strider, neither did horse and buggies, but you know what I'm saying, buddy. You know, I've never had to use Slack. I've dodged that bullet. Been very good about that. Slack and Telegram. And let me be perfectly clear with you. There's the slimmest chance if you're like, yo, join my Discord to get whatever, or, you know, because I'm not a fan of, like, when people put, like, their help files and things like that in their Discord, or their download links in their Discord. But if it's like, hey, join my Telegram, I just laugh and close the page. I've never used Telegram. Microsoft Communicator. I don't even know what Microsoft Communicator is. Let me be clear with you, I don't. Microsoft Communicator. Here we go. Let's go on this adventure. Oh, it wants me to download. That's what a Microsoft Communicator is, apparently. Yes, what is Microsoft Communicator? Instant messaging and video telephony? I guess. Is it, did they rebadge Skype? Was that it? Oh, man. So... Huh. Skype. What Microsoft managed to do with Skype is going to be written down as impressive. Like, how they managed to just destroy the brand of Skype and turn it into something that... I mean, that was the thing. Like, if you had to...
I forgot my water, sorry.
Okay, go ahead. If you're going to do video conferencing, like, I mean, it was just Skype. Like, it was part of modern culture, man. Even in DBZ Abridged, you know, that's where Space Skype came from, right? Like, it was a thing. It was gone now. Like, Skype, what? Now, if you're a certain age, you have the Skype ringtone, like, seared into your memory. When you hear that, you have some, like, And Skype was wonderful. Skype had a native Linux client. It wasn't Electron, it wasn't WebRTC, it was just a solid Linux client. It had a 16:9 video. Quality was great, and it was on feature parity when the Windows and Mac versions. Microsoft bought it 6 months later. It was restricted to 4:3, and they never updated it until they discontinued it. Oh, man. Yeah, Skype's one of those things. We finally got the, if you were watching or listening to the pre super shows, and we got the last little bits of the RasPi Jitsi server up and running. Oh, all of that's hammered in. We prototyped it last week. Jill's coming over our Jitsi server that's on a Raspberry Pi 4 that's sitting in the rack behind me. We had to get the turn stun stuff set up. Then I had to set up the what was it? Simulcast. Oh,
simulcast. Yeah.
Because Jitsi was determined to have a panic attack because I had that disabled. Oh. Because I don't have P2P enabled. Because I want to force everything through a simple queue on the router back in the rack so I can do some reasonable bandwidth shaping and prioritize traffic, data bit packets. And can't do that with a PDP when everything's being slung over UDP. And even though we were clearly sending data to each other, like high speed, like 3 megabits back and forwards, Jitsi was having a little bit of a seizure. And Jitsi was going, there's a bandwidth issue, so I've disabled the video. And it wasn't even disabling the video, it was just putting an overlay over the video that says we've disabled the video. It was still coming through. And we were able to determine what it was, is it wants to do those 3 streams, and every time it has that little bit of a panic attack, it wants to reach over there and just touch and be like, hey, I can come over here, right, if something's wrong with the bandwidth. And if it gets that signal back from it, it doesn't disable the video. It never changes the video. It's just as long as it's signaling there. That's why we were talking about why you have that abstraction layer between on-off in a config file, and you have the maybe interpreter, than the actual result. And I'm not a fan of when software has the "I'll think about it" interpreter. You know, it's like that. No, this config file, like this shouldn't be a suggestion. It shouldn't be negotiation. I said on-off, do the thing. It's like, yeah, maybe. Hey, look, TwitchBot did the thing. You don't have P2P enabled? Neither do I, Steve. Yes, Jill. There we go. All right, there we go. And yeah, I'm still working on that just again. It's going to be nice and simple. And by simple, I've absolutely scaled back the scope of it. All right. Do you know what would be really simple? Is if I just made an image, which I already have. I'm like, here, just put this on your Raspberry Pi 4 and it'll work. But I don't want the emails from that. Like, how do I? What is that inertia? Cool. Is that your like free-range single-source hipster version of Jitsi?
I've heard of it. Never used it.
Yeah, man. It's like it's cool. Like, you know, it's underground, man. Jitsi's mainstream. Got nothing here. Tells me what it is. Oh, it's some hobby project. University hobby project. Here we go. Here's the actual GitHub page for anybody who wants to. I mean, I'm running Jitsi on a Raspberry Pi 4, homie. Like, I don't know how much more potato you want to get than that.
So true.
I mean, I don't hold up the Raspberry Pi 4 as like the bastion of like performance. Pretty good performance per watt, but. And that's one of the things I'm going to be pointing out in the video is the system requirements for Jitsi are a horse squeeze compared to what you actually need. Because if you're only going to be having like 6 people, you don't even need anything more than 4 gigs of RAM.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And if you go to the Jitsi website and they're like, no. Okay, so.
At least 16.
You're going to want a data center, and you know you want to make sure your AWS instance is set to scale. I'm like, come on, man! Not everybody's running a university off these things. We're an enterprise business. Why would I be using a WebRTC app to do recording? That sounds very potato. But I will give you that. Like, if I was trying to do, like, local recording on the machine or something like that, that would probably require a lot more grunt, but I'd probably have that on a different box.
Yeah.
The, screen share, it's feature creep, really, with WebRTC. Maybe it's an age thing, though. What do I expect with my WebRTC client? What we got right now? I can hear Jill. I can see Jill. Good. Awesome.
Yeah, happy.
Do I got a hang up button? Oh, man, look at those features. I don't even have to press Alt F4. But instead, I can raise my hand.
Yeah. We can send emojis to each other.
If we... Is that useful? Not in the slightest, but...
No.
Oh, man. Drag and drop file sharing in your WebRTC. See, like I said, I think that's like an age difference. Until I just read what you said wrote there, that would have never crossed my mind to attempt to do. Would have never crossed my mind. Drag and drop file sharing in WebRTC. I mean, maybe I would have found that out, like, you know, monkey with a typewriter, give it enough time, I would have accidentally dragged something into a browser window and like, oh, is that working?
Yeah, I noticed they have cut back on some of the features of the chat. They did that a while ago.
Remote control desktop. I don't know. I don't know. Here's my thoughts on Jitsi. It's a pretty good WebRTC client. I don't know about like whatever that particular use case is. It sounds like a better, like you need a remote desktop. Oh, curl. Why would you use curl when you have perfectly good wget?
wget.
All right, everybody. I think we pretty much get everything together. We can go ahead and hop into this. Everything seems to be transmogrifying correctly.
Very good.
No explosions. Oh, hang on. We're going to have last week's credits, by the way. I just realized it.
Oh, okay.
We're not even going to have last week's. We're going to have Linux Gamecast credits, everybody. So special treat for you.
Okay.
That just finally clicked in on my... oh, right. I didn't do that. Oh, man. Visual Studio? I mean, if it works for you, use what works for you, man. Like, I've made that transition in my life, and it's so much easier. It's like not to get upset about what other people are using. As long as it works for them, like, go for it, man. Knock yourself out. That old tribal... we're such territorial little monkeys about things that we'll just drill down. Like, Windows and Linux isn't bad enough. Like, the Linux users get around, it's like, which distribution are you using? Rawr.
Yeah. Which window manager?
Right. And I mean, it's penguins all the way down, man. It's penguins all the way down. We can't help ourselves. Duvan, rat poison.
Yeah, I like rat poison. I still occasionally use it.
There were some security issues with X11. Didn't they find some security issues going back to like the 90s?
Yeah. Yeah. I ran across an article on it. Didn't read it fully.
News? 1998 was the oldest one? Alright. I was like, huh. Xorg, hit by new security.
There it is.
1988. It was decades ago. All right. It's always good to have something like that brought back up.
Yeah.
20 plus years later, you get to go, told you. Oh, man. Wayland will be ready in like 10 years. Don't worry about it. Any day now. That's going to be the newest thing. I can already feel that. Like I can get those seeds of people getting ready. I'm like, we're going to argue about this on the internet.
Yeah.
It's going to be the Wayland X11 debate. You know, it's like I never participated in the whole GNOME KDE thing. And it's like, I'm just over here using XFC. Leave us alone. And for a large chunk of the aughts, that was probably 30% of the content available on /.org in the comment section. Oh, yes, those XPM images. Hey, man, you never know. You never know. I mean, I know XPM exists, but that's about as far as I can go with it. That would probably... No. That would not remove a bottle cap. You need a proper device to remove bottle caps, like a spoon or a fork.
A spoon. Spoon!
Or a big lighter. Inertia, I wouldn't know. Wayland's not ready for production yet, so... Well, it's a lever method. Like, use this same way that you would use a Bic lighter with a spoon, or just not even the spoon part of a spoon, but just the metal end, anything like that. Pops right off.
That inertia, so last we read about was XFCE was not using X Wayland, but the root one, X F root? X I'm forgetting the name of it. I have to look it up. I should know that name, but it's not coming to me.
I think the last update we were going to talk about decided not to talk about because it was really...
Yeah, it was me and Ven had read it, and there wasn't much information there because they hadn't finalized anything.
They were just like, but I mean, X is going to be around, and it's going to be forever. It's not going anywhere. It's going to go somewhere between when RHEL doesn't ship X, then NVIDIA is going to go, all right, fine. Yeah, unfortunately, like, my use case is a top to bottom bulleting point of like stuff that Wayland's not good at or just doesn't do right now. I keep an eye on it because I'm a huge proponent of Wayland, of the Wayland protocol.
Yeah.
Big champion, but I'm not a cheerleader. For desktop use, it's golden. But things are getting better. All right. There we go. Cool. Let's go.
Yay!
Let's get that loaded. Let's bounce over here. Let's hit our record. And it's got a recording on our DAW. Let's get a recording there. So let's bounce. Are we missing anything? There we go. Cool.
Nice.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Linux Weekly, Daily Wednesdays, where we sit back, relax, take that midweek break, talk about some of the fun things going on in the world of Linux and open source. I'm Vince Stone, joined every week by Jill Bryant. Everybody watching us live over there on Twitch. We were just chatting up, talking about the wonderful, wonderful benefits of Wayland and how it's the future and how I still love X11.
Yes.
I don't like. I want Wayland to succeed. I'm not going to pick a side on that. I'm like, whatever. Yeah. Whatever works best, that's what I end up using. I'm that horrible person. You're like, but I don't do teams on that, man. I'm like, which one works best? All right, I'll be using that one. Oh, the other thing works best now. I'll be using that now. Such a weird way of thinking, isn't it?
Yeah. I'll just be happy whatever works with Window Maker, I'm happy with. So
it's great. Whatever works for you.
Yeah.
That's something I was touching on. I was glad I finally got to the age and I got over the hump of caring what other people use. As long as it works for you, and as long as you're happy with it, cool. Awesome. We can be friends. You can come over. We can play Sonic the Hedgehog. It'll be a great evening. Getting wound up by stuff like that, that's out of my system. It's been out of my system for a long time. It makes you a happier person. But Jill, speaking of happier people,
yay!
You finally got a vintage GPU.
Oh, no, not vintage, Ven. So I got an Intel Arc GPU for my wedding anniversary last weekend. And it's right here. Sweet. I'm so happy. It is the ASRock Phantom Gaming overclocked version. It's the A770 with 16 gigabytes of RAM. Thank you, Steve Husband. See, I don't like jewelry and flowers for my anniversary. I like computer parts.
I'm just waiting for you to drop it.
No, I'm being very careful. No, it's a sweet card here. Sweet card.
Have you plugged it in yet?
No, I just literally
It's a
got
collector's
it.
item, 100%.
No, I literally got it late last night, so I haven't had time to touch it. So today after the show, I'm gonna be there.
And we'll
Playing
never see
around.
Jill again. No. I'm glad you got it.
Aw.
Congratulations.
Yes.
You guys can still put up with each other. That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right.
Absolutely. We had a great weekend. Actually, Vin, so what happened is I went to Micro Center because there was a good sale at Micro Center. It was like $20 or $30, $25 off from the Amazon sale price. And I wanted to get it there, but they had sold out by the time we got there. So literally right after we left Micro Center, I'm like, I just bought it on Amazon. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I went to Newegg because Newegg was $10 cheaper. So I went to Newegg and got it. So it came out in total about $330, which is very good because a lot of the cards, usually $350 to $400 is average.
Mm-hmm.
So I got a good sell on it.
Yeah, the
really happy.
The first generation from Intel, those cards are like if you're looking for something. What I've said this entire time, a Tinker card. Like, it's something to play with. It's something to keep track of. It's something that will continue getting better and adding new features to it. If you go out and you run out and buy one expecting a completely baked product, even a year after release, you bought the wrong card.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're fun cards to play around with and
they
keep track
are.
with. And, they're playing around with Mesa and doing some interesting things with them, increasing Vulkan performance on the, what is it, DG2, I think Intel calls it.
Yeah, the first thing I'm going to do is install the updated drivers for it. And, there's no other card you can buy that's 16 gigabytes of RAM at that price.
Yeah.
So you're paying double for 16 gigs of RAM on AMD
That's
GPUs and NVIDIA. So that's a nice entry into the market for 16 gig. Mm.
how about now?
There we go. Now I can hear you.
Computers, it's mad. They just always work all the time, don't they? All right. Ladies and gentlemen, let me go ahead and reset that real quick. I had to clear an envelope.
Okay.
There we go. Now it's back to doing its thing. I wasn't doing pantomime, but I thought about it. Interpretive dance. That's probably the best way to handle a podcast. So
yeah.
I'm playing around with it. I'm glad you got the card. I hope you look forward to playing with it. Hope it does everything. Hope it doesn't explode. It doesn't break out of your computer, knock down your back door, and run screeching into the night.
Yeah.
As sometimes they do.
No,
right?
it runs out of the box on Ubuntu, but I am going to update the drivers.
Oh yeah, if you want the best to play around with the Intel Arc, you're going to be building stuff. Me pulling off dailies. Like if I had an Intel Arc, that would be the one card just for my ease of use. I'd be running Arch on.
Yes.
Just to keep it up to date, to play around with it. So, what have I been doing? Oh, I think we pretty much got this Raspberry Pi thing hammered out. So I've collected the data points on what it actually looks like under load. And I can continue on with a nice little guide that are just going to confuse people.
Mm-hmm.
I've already realized where I'm at with that, but I look forward to making it. So if you've been interested in like, man, I don't care. Like if you just want a weekend project that's fun to do, have your own private little WebRTC server. We were talking in the pre-show. Apparently people expect a lot more from video conferencing these days than I do. Like what do I expect what we're doing right now? Like, hi, I can hear and see Jill. Awesome. Yeah. We're good to go. It sounds good. It looks good. It's like, no. This thing doesn't balance your checkbook for you. Like, no. Like, it's useless. That's really all I expect from Jitsi is basic web art, and that's what I'm going to be showing you how to get that set up securely. and lock it down to where randos just can't jump in your chats or anything to that effect. So looking forward to that. Now, speaking of security, dun, 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 let's talk about Snapcraft. Oh man.
Yeah.
Snap. Fake crypto apps. That's my mad rhyme. Apparently, last week, there were some fake apps which were thieving your funds. And they must be removed immediately, according to Not Needed. And this was posted on the canonical snapcraft.io forums. And I was following this trail. So, 3 apps. Trezor or Trezor Wallet, Electrum Wallet, and Ledger One.
Mm-hmm.
It continues. Somebody else had reported, and there's a phishing app on the Snap Store. Is my computer compromised? And apparently this one was disguised as the official app for Ledger.
Yeah, that's scary because that's a crypto app.
Right, and it doesn't matter what your thoughts are on crypto. This could happen to any other app.
Yeah.
Now, what happened here was later on, there was a temporary suspension of automatic Snap registration following the security incident. And this is what got me digging around and like, wow, we're just not. And apparently the security incident was something that kind of surprised me. No, they did say that all the apps that they know of have been removed and the automatic registration for snaps have been suspended for the time being. Now, I was kind of taken back. I don't keep super like on top of containerized desktop stuff like Flatpaks and snaps because I'm not a huge fan of them. But I gotta think, like it just in my little tiny humble opinion, like manual reviews could like really be mandatory for like anything that is submitted that is coming from like third parties, right? Like, I mean, if you go to download the Spotify, do you really want? And here's my fine point on that. Anything that it's touching account information, you know?
Yeah.
Like, do you want Frank's Spotify-orama snap package? Or the other 16 Spotify? Or pick your application here, coming from whoever. Are you going to trust that person to handle your data securely? Or are you going to trust them to keep the app updated and to maintain the security of the snap? Like, why isn't there manual reviews for stuff like that? Like, I maybe this is a learning thing. But maybe I kind of assumed like checks and stuff like this was built into the Snap Store because that, unlike Flatpak, you go to one place to get your snaps, you know, and that is like one of the advantage that closed source backend, you know, that Canonical has. Something like this can still take place. I was kind of surprised, Joe.
Yeah, me too. This is a big security breach. But hopefully the team has learned from this, and I think there does need to be a system of review put in place for each app submitted. So
I don't think...
obviously, hopefully that will change. Because it's such a brilliant system, especially for server side.
Server side stuff kind of makes sense for like desktop applications because the type of person, because Canonical there's an effort from Canonical to steer the person into installing snaps and to going to the Snap Store and using that.
Yeah.
You can't argue that with me. That's it. So there needs to be some work on that end to ensure that every single thing in that Snap Store has been vetted to some extent. Because this isn't the Google Play Store. Like, you got the resources to check these things out manually. It's not like the tsunami of applications or limit the applications. Again, I'm going to go back. Like, if there's a Discord snap, there should be one, and it should be from Discord. If Discord doesn't want to make one, don't have one.
Yeah.
Now, how is this different than, oh, well, I can just go to a GitHub from this person's project. I can download their project and I can install it. That's fine. That's great. There's a completely different type of person who's going to do at least hopefully some due diligence in that chain before they get to the GitHub page and download it and install it. Versus the person who sees the screen pop up and says, here's the store, click on thing and install it. Again, just my opinion. Something you might want to think about. Jill, have you ever owned a laptop?
Yes, I certainly have. And this tool will really come in handy.
Handily?
Handily. Come in handy. This is Auto CPU Freak, or Auto CPU Frequency. It's an awesome open source command line utility based on Python that lets you automatically optimize CPU speed and battery power. The tool actually monitors your CPU and prints metrics on the terminal, such as the CPU usage, frequency, and temperature of each CPU core, as well as monitors the state of your battery, your system load, and lets you do turbo boost management. But what is really cool is Auto CPU Freak version 2.0 is out, which now has a really useful GUI GTK application as well as the command line interface. So now you can use either one. And, when this application came out in 2020, the first thing I did is put it on all my Linux-based laptops, all my distros. We had talked about it here on LWDW back when it came out. And we were talking about how well it runs on the laptops. And in fact, I had it installed on one of my Arch-based laptops I used, and literally got like an hour's extra worth of battery life on that laptop because of Auto CPU Freak. So I highly recommend it. It's really, really cool. And another cool feature is that you can run Auto CPU Freak in a monitor mode or in a live mode that is temporary until you reboot the computer. So it's got a lot of nice options there. And they've done a lot of bug fixes with version 2. And you can check it out on the GitHub on how to install it and everything.
So, like I said, you probably got a laptop laying around. Even I have laptops. I don't like laptops, but I got them. They're sitting around the house. But if you're using one, especially if it's your daily driver, you need to know about this program. This isn't just like, hey, this little thing that this guy made, maybe you should check. No, this is something you should be running. This is something, any device that you got that's got a power brick in it somewhere, it's got some lithium ion floating around in it, I want you to go check this out. Now, you're probably thinking, well, I already have a governor. I got CPU frequency set up. I can choose between on-demand, power, save, and performance. I'm good to go, Ven. You need to shut up. And I'm like, nay. Instead of having those static governors, what this is doing is it's taking a couple of things into consideration before it's going to cut everything down to 1 or cut it all the way back up to 11. It's thinking, hey, man, is this laptop plugged in? All right, cool. Are we on using that battery? Maybe I don't want to wind it up too much. What's the CPU temp? What's the overall system load? And it puts all that together. Then it determines what's going to be the optimal performance that laptop, your laptop, or your friend's laptop should be running at to get the maximum performance versus your battery life. And I think that's a pretty big thing to have installed. And better battery life, just overall, better performance overall. And, it's got a GUI. It's got a GUI. Kinda. No.
Yeah.
I mean,
it looks like the CLI or the CLI.
It's a GUI nice in the sense that there's not one but 3 radio buttons to click.
Yeah, so a hamburger.
There we go.
Yeah, and DSNG Joe in chat was asking if I ran it on a desktop. And I actually haven't run Auto CPU Freak on a desktop, but I have run CPU Freak on a desktop to adjust the governors on my processor.
Do you have your desktop plugged into UPS? If the answer is no, then don't worry about it.
Yeah.
So go check this out. All that's going to be in my, in our show notes. It's going to be on the webzone, linuxteamcast.com. Go check it out after the fact. Or just...
Yeah. Use it on your laptops.
go Bing it. Go duck it.
Yeah.
Duck, go, man. Google with a verb thing, man. Google got in early enough to where it became a verb. It's an action verb. Go to Google thing and everything, which it's generic. It's like Kleenex, isn't it? You're like,
Yeah.
go Google it. That means search, but there's always the one person that comes out of the wall.
Go it.
Go it. And
Yeah.
like, dude, come on. There's a reason nobody invites you to parties, my man. Anyway, one thing parties needs, DJs, and something you can DJ with, you can do live audio with, is a digital audio workstation. And we talked about one last week. That was PreSonus's Studio One, releasing a Linux beta just out of nowhere. There's just dropped it on the desk. And I'm like, what is going on here? Now, for me, this is big news because PreSonus makes some awesome digital audio workstations, applications, tools, and plugins. They get a bunch of different versions of this. Not necessarily interested in the application so much as to what they said during the release of like, we might also be working on official Linux drivers for our Thunderbolt audio interfaces. And like, that would be neat. Anyway, told you about it last week, played around with it, got it installed. I'm back to tell you what the experience was like. And limited is a good word to wrap this up because that's what this Linux beta is. Very limited. The install, pretty straightforward. I followed the directions. Now, if you're unfamiliar with using commercial software on Linux, do as you're told, and you will have a good time. I've had people come back constantly on the DaVinci Resolve AMD, how to get that up and running with the official binary drivers, and they're like, well, this doesn't work on Pop OS. I'm like, no, it doesn't. You need this version of Ubuntu or this version of RHEL. They're like, but I have Pop OS. I'm like, that's a cool story. Do you got anything else you want to share? I like the color blue. It doesn't work. So, really straightforward. I followed those directions. Now I installed the correct version of Ubuntu, which was something about lobsters or something like that. I forget, space lobsters or something, whatever version that is. I got Wayland installed. And I got Jack installed. I also ended up using KDE because they were pretty clear about, like, make sure you have Jack up and running.
Yeah, so you used Ubuntu Studio?
No, I used Ubuntu. No, see, Jill, they're like, why doesn't it work with my Ubuntu Studio? Like, because it told you to install Lunar Lobster, not
Lunar
Ubuntu
Lobster,
Studio.
yeah.
So let me tell you what it did. Step one, rip out Pipewire. You rip out Pipewire, Gnome's like, I'm out too. I'm like, I'm kind of cool with that. I'll just use KDE. So that's why we're doing this on KDE. Installed Jack. I went through all my system setup stuff and configured the system for real-time audio. Still going to do a guide on how to do that because it's only like 15-minute process. It also not only works with Jack, I found out that it works with Balsa.
Yeah, I remember you were surprised by that, and I was too, because it said specifically in the information about it when it came out that it said Jack. Only. It didn't say Elsa.
Right. And I was surprised, and I tested it out with a control surface. I have an IO Station 24C that Guy Linux picked up off of our wish list, and I did a video on that a couple of months ago. Now, it's a little bit crashy. I found a way to reliably crash it by importing 1+ gigabyte WAV files, 32-bit float. Had problems with that. The only GUIs that you have for plugins, let me see, are the bundled PreSonus plugins. Everything else, you either get a blank screen or you get some generic dials. PreSonus is, this is Wayland only, so they've updated their API for plugin developers to go back and change their plugin to make it work with this, which I want to be part of whatever fever dream that PreSonus is on, because that ain't never going to happen. But hey, you can use the built-in plugin GUIs. They exist. And like I said, that control surface works, but only just. And audio comes out, and that's about where they said this was going to be. I did a little bit of a write-up for it. Hey, how do you find out whether or not you're running Wayland? That's how you do it. What sound servers you need, how to download it, how to get it installed. It comes in the form of a deb. How to do your setup and get your audio device, control surfaces, bundled plugins, and yeah, just that nice blank screen when you try to get the third parties. But to PreSonus's credit, right out of the gate, they're like, this is basically a tech demo. We're just testing the waters. We're going to see how this works, and it's pretty much what they delivered. Still excited to see what comes down the pipe wire from PreSonus. Yay. Be it continuations of this DAW, more commercial DAWs on Linux. I don't have a problem with it. You know, we have Reaper, we have Bedvig. Now, technically, we have PreSonus. PreSonus is not a cheap application. Oh, Harrison Mixbus, too. I always forget about it. Harrison Mixbus is Odor with a skeuomorphic body kit. Like, clicked onto it. Just use Odor. Trust me on this. But and PreSonus is not a cheap DAW either. It's like $300-$400, about the same price as Bitwig, but they have personal editions, which are a lot cheaper. So, good news. Maybe we get some Linux drivers at the end of the day. But the reason we've been plowing through this episode so quickly is because we got a big chunky thing to talk about in our Slice of Pie segment. Something happened between last week and this, Joe.
Oh, something really big. So some very exciting news in the Raspberry Pi ecosystem. The very much anticipated Raspberry Pi 5 was just announced last Thursday, the day after LWDW. And it was announced Thursday by Eben Upton, the CEO of Raspberry Pi Limited. You can pre-order a Raspberry Pi 5 right now for the release at the end of this month, which is October. And the last time we actually saw a new release of the Raspberry Pi was the Raspberry Pi 4 back in June of 2019, which has sold 14 million units to date. And then, as Ven and I have been talking about here on LWW, the pandemic and hardware shortages happened. The rest is history. Both me and Ven were here on LWW have talked in depth about our concern for Raspberry Pi's future, given the rapid tooling availability and, faster speeds of its competitors, and how hard and how expensive it was to get a hold of a Raspberry Pi. Well, looks like the Raspberry Pi's incredible ecosystem and open source community is what has helped it to survive. And now we have a Raspberry Pi 5.
No, it wasn't, Jill. It was them selling it to businesses for the past 2 years instead of us.
Aw. Well, that helped a lot, too.
I mean, that's how they made all the crazy money.
Yeah.
They're like, thanks for building that open source infrastructure and stuff, plebs.
Yeah, plebs. So the Raspberry Pi 5 has some awesome specs. It is actually 2 to 3 times faster with a 2.4 gigahertz quad-core 64-bit ARM Cortex A76 CPU, and it's got faster graphics performance with the Video Core 7 GPU. And, there's 2 options of models of RAM for the Pi. There's a 4 gig one you can buy or an 8 gigabyte model. But there are actually two other features which I am extremely excited about, and this one is simple. The Raspberry Pi 5 has a dedicated power button now. Yes, you can turn it on and off. I'm so happy to see that. And it uses silicon designed in-house by the Raspberry Pi company, which is a first. And I'm sure a lot of that has to do with the hardware shortages they were dealing with. So they said, okay, let's make some of the stuff in-house.
And that is tradition. We got our standard Raspberry Pi case, but if you look closely, it's that red and white case you get. And you're like, you think it's going to be, those things are basically made of Nintendium too. Very difficult to break. It has a fan on it. It does.
Yes.
It's got a fan in it. It's got a fan inside it. It's something that goes burr when you plug it in, because that Broadcom, let's be fair, it's not quite as fast as the latest rock chip, the 3588, but like that rock chip, it needs active cooling. So you're like, man. But if you don't want to do the case thing, you can get one of these heat sinks. Look at that.
Really nice. Sweet.
I mean, that's really dope. All of the fins are in the wrong direction, but still pretty sweet.
Yeah, it needs to be flipped.
I'm not wrong. I want to I want to know what, because that wasn't intentional. Maybe that was a cost saving thing where it didn't need to be machined a certain way. But yeah, you gotta have the active cooling on it, which is like, this is the first Pi. Now I have active cooling on my Pi 4 because yes, you can run a Raspberry Pi if you're just doing basic load stuff, like quick loads, like, hey, I'm going to open a browser real quick. But if you're hammering on it, you definitely need that, or it's going to thermal throttle. These are just basically going to do it out of the box, like within 30 seconds. Now, another thing to get excited about with the Raspberry Pi 5, it's got a PCI Express connector, not a slot, a ribbon
Like a
connector.
real connector. Yeah.
A ribbon connector that you're going to need a hat for if you want to get some of that PCI Express goodness, be it in the form of like a buy one slot or an NVMe drive. It's got to wait for it. There's prototype boards out there. We don't have an official product announcement for that particular hat, but it is coming. And I'm just going to hold off until that ecosystem. I was at Chicago Electrical last week. Like, you know what? I'm just going to get one because they are cheap. You know, the 4 gig model. Mm-hmm. And even the 8 gig model is only like $5 more than the original price of the Raspberry Pi 4, which is good on you, everyone at Raspberry Pi. Keeping the price, as long as you keep the stock up right now. And I think stock's going to be reasonably, I was talking about this on Linux Gamecast. Go back and if you want a more extended gaming-focused version of what you can do with the Raspberry Pi 4, go watch last week's show. But every place that I felt that had pre-orders open were very strict, and Chicago Electric was really good with like, you know what? You can order one. If you try to order 2, we're still going to charge you shipping for the second one, but we're not going to send it to you. So I think Raspberry Pi was very clear with everybody that they will supply pre-order stock to. Like, don't mess this up, okay?
Yeah.
Like, you know, like don't pretend, no wink, like, oh, we won't sell to scalpers. Wink, you know, and they just feel like, you do this, we're gonna burn you. So hopefully we'll get good stock. Yeah. And Raspberry Pi 4s are kind of price normalized. You can get a Raspberry Pi 4 8 gig for like $75-$78 right now, even on Amazon, which is like the pinnacle high price you would expect to see anywhere. So, good times.
It's so nice. They are not $220 anymore.
Right. And I mean, this guy's got a real fan header on it. It's got the option for a real-time clock.
Yeah, it's got a dual 4K 60 4K 60 HDMI display outputs. So that's pretty sweet.
And it should be able to actually push that too.
Yeah.
It has enough of a grunt. Moral of this story is I'm probably going to get an Orange Pi 5.
Oh, okay.
It's just cooler and it's faster.
It's just cooler and faster, more RAM.
Well, that was kind of curious, though. We didn't, do you think maybe because I think we were all expecting like larger RAM options, something different than 4 and 8, because we've seen 16 and 32 have been 16. So prevalent the past 2 years, right?
I know, and I was kind of expecting that too, but I have a feeling we're going to get another iteration very soon with 16.
I wouldn't say soon, but I'd probably say maybe another year. We might see a refresh, but
yeah.
What do you need 16 gigs for?
Yeah, Raspberry Pi, yeah.
I say that, and that's one of the things I'm working on that Raspberry Pi Jitsi video. And like doing simulated loads on that thing and like really trying to get it up to 8 gigs to get it to just start hitting the swap. It ain't doing it, man.
Yeah.
Like 8 gigs is a lot of memory RAM. These are going to be very interesting. I'm definitely going to get one at some point, probably a 4 gig, because I'm on this perpetual mission to replace these Dell 3010s.
Yeah.
That I have.
That would be a good replacement. A lot less power.
It's got to do a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Because the only downside with these, and the one thing that I was really excited about the Zima board is it had a PCI Express slot on it.
Yeah.
So I can continue, because everything in here is on fiber. So if I move to a Raspberry Pi, I don't want to get a converter to add latency. I'd probably just go back to using Ethernet, but I'd have to get Ethernet, put a switch on it, run another big pain. But yeah, I still want to see if I can get away with using a couple of them. And they're cheap, like the 4 gig version, $60. Like, come on.
Yeah, eventually, Vin, you'll be able to run your whole studio with them. They're getting more powerful and more powerful. It's not like you already have a Raspberry Pi 4 Jitsi server right now that we're using.
Well, this is like the whole thing. We were talking about the Zima Blade, right?
Yeah.
Which is like a 6-year-old Intel dual core laptop part.
Mm-hmm.
Dances all over the Raspberry Pi's face.
Yeah.
So, like, if we were just talking about raw performance per watt, ARM's got a way to go. By the time you get some really beefy, chunky ARM power, they're complex. 2, they're crazy expensive. I think Odroid's got some like really sick ones. This, again, It's not quite as fast as the latest rock chips, but they hit a price point with this, and I think this is
absolutely
really good. Also, yeah, good on Raspberry Pi for getting this out.
Yay! We were, me and Ven were talking about it the last year. We really need to see a Raspberry Pi 4, especially in 2023, and we got it. We got it unexpectedly too. That was so cool.
I hope it's not a case of too little, too late.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see. That's going to do it for this week's Weekly Daily Wednesday. Ladies and gentlemen, we've done our time.
Yes.
We'll see you next week. But before we go, let's roll some credits. Real quick, I want to thank Zaberfang for one of our latest patrons, and I also want to thank Mir and JordVPN, which is the latest sponsor for this episode, and Gamatron for Twitch resubs. Those Bezos bucks, we appreciate them.
And Blasmia pledged $1. Yay! Thank you, Blasmia. And boy, we have lots of sea monsters, executive producers, lots of death notes. Benjamin, Doom 2, Wad, Gamatron, and Foxdog, Jalad, Piper, Aromatic Dev. Got lots of chairlings as well. Mr. Alert, Mir, Monica, Mark, Yako.
Thanks to our fine upstanding cannibals, picking up stuff off that Wish the Zone, Carl Micro, Theron, Linux, Neru, Aldius, Noctilus, John, Eshep, Gamatron, DSN, Joe, Aromatic Dev, and of course, Cat Joe. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for episode 395. We'll see you again next week, and let us know if you get a Raspberry Pi. Leave a comment. I want to know what your plans are. Are you going to make a desktop? Are you going to make a server? Or are you going to make an autonomous killing machine? Till next week, bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Love you all.
All right. Where is
Anti-showtime. Yeah, our family is big, huh, Joe?
Yeah, JordVPN is the only trustworthy VPN. It says it's run by Canadians.
Yeah, I love that.
Well, I want that
nice,
hat.
Artheron.
That's like part one, but what I'm going to wait on. I was telling Jill in the pre-show, I'm waiting on the case that fits the hat with the NVMe drive in it, where it's I can just click everything together and be done with it instead of having. Yeah. I was spoiled by that Argon 1 case, man. Like that thing is like self-contained. Sweet. Don't worry about it. I think it's by 2. And you can increase it. It's not certified for, I think it's Gen 2. It's not certified for Gen 3, but you can run it at Gen 3.
Yeah, I read about that too. But on the specs, it says PCIe 2.0 1X interface. But I'm sure that can run higher if you need it to.
Yeah. I don't know. That's what Jordan and I were talking about on Saturdays, like contributing back to alternate ecosystems. Because you know what? The Raspberry Pi is the easy choice. The Raspberry Pi is not a tinker toy anymore. It's a product. You buy it. You expect it to do something when you buy it. You got a plan in mind, and there's usually multiple applications to get that accomplished. And Jordan was talking about it. I forget which one he bought, but he bought a big chunky one. Might have been NanoPi. And I'm looking at like the Orange Pi to like dig around in those, because that's more like old school Raspberry Pi type stuff. Like you're going to be compiling a lot of software yourself. You have one too? All right. So it is NanoPi.
Mm.
Also got to figure out what fan size is on the Raspberry Pi, because those fans are gumpy, man.
Yeah.
You got to replace them with a knock to a fan, or
I get a nice fan on there,
right,
quiet one.
It's like,
Yeah.
you know, like the fan made by the lowest bidder. Cafeteria mini boards. All right.
Yeah, that's a great use, Tickling. It's for the displays.
120 and put it 240 on it, man. Come on. Yeah, I can't have a screechy little fan in here, unfortunately.
Yeah.
That's one thing about the Argon case, is it's got a nice little module where you can set fan temps. Which that thing takes all the thermal
really
load
nice.
into the case chassis, so you really got to be doing stress tests to even get the fan cut on. But unfortunately, that case will get hot enough to where you wouldn't. It's not going to burn you, but if you dropped it down your pants, you would do a dance. It's that kind of heat. But yeah, I'll probably get a 4 gig Pi 5 at some point. But I think the next thing I'm going to get is the Orange Pi of 4 gig.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see if I can do a desktop with one of those. And a real desktop, a useful desktop, like as an example to replace one of these boxes. Because, you know, everybody does like, hey, look, it works as a desktop. I've opened a browser. I've jiggled a window around. Much desktop. Such a... And what is it? Explaining computers?
Yeah.
At least he tries to edit video on them every now and then.
Mm-hmm.
So that's always really good. But I want to see if we can do like a full WebRTC setup with jack on it. And I got some pretty serious network stuff in here for a net jack. So we'll play around with it. It'll be a good time.
Yeah.
We just storing a homemade stack effect cooler for this with the GPU. Yeah. Explaining computers is, I think he does a very serviceable job balancing, you know, like watchability versus how deep. But man, if you told me that dude had some bodies buried in his backyard, I'd be like, probably.
Oh. Oh, I love the guy. He's a nice guy.
He seems like a nice guy, like I said, but
yeah.
like, that wouldn't surprise me. Yeah, it'll be interesting to just actually use one and get some data points from a Raspberry Pi or a Orange Pi in use, as opposed to like synthetic benchmarks. I've never been a fan of synthetic benchmarks. They're good for ballparking, but you don't know what will and will not break something until you try it out. That's why it takes me so long to do a lot of this stuff, because I hammer on stuff before I do a video or anything or guide about something.
Yeah, I mean, mere Gearling, you know, is for the advanced user. It's he has a different audience than explaining computers. Yeah, I usually watch the Jeff Gearlings all the way through too, and I did this time with explaining computers because I was talking about the Raspberry Pi. And he did an excellent job.
And you can always chill out because all of the YouTubers are like, I can get... I know how to think like a YouTuber now because I've been doing it so long.
Yeah.
I'm still on your side, guys. What you do is you look at the product release, and everybody does this, even Gamers Nexus, Hardware and Boxer. We got a new product coming out. How many videos can I get out of
Yeah,
So
I
you're
know.
at first, you're not going to get that comprehensive video of like, can you cover everything I have all my questions for? It's like, eventually, maybe on video 4. So you got to wait for everybody to, not like anybody, they're just playing the game.
Yeah. Yeah, and every content creator has a different area of the hardware that they want to cover, and they emphasize. So it's fun to watch them all. I that's why I have most of the Linux YouTubers and tech tubers I subscribe to, because I like watching all the content from all the different creators to get different perspectives and different use cases. Oh, I got my Scale 18X mug. I love this one. It's one of my favorite Scale mugs. do, do, do. Mm-hmm.
DEF CON gets on my nerves.
Yeah. Yeah, depending on who's speaking. I like watching DEF CON too. Not DEF CON 1, but DEF CON 2. I made a joke, sorry. But anyways, I really enjoy watching a lot of the keynote speakers and whatnot.
Reason DEF CON gets on my nerves is the way they release videos.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes late.
Yep. They do it all at once. So if you subscribe to DEF CON, your entire feeds
Oh, yeah, it comes in all at
because
once.
it's all the DEF CON videos. I'm like, that's how I remember I subscribed to DEF CON.
Oh, okay.
I'm like,
okay.
oh, right.
Yeah, I guess because they do them all at once, it takes them a while sometimes to get them all out.
Why just put them all out at one time instead of like, here's one every day, or like, nope, here's everything we've done all at once. Like, which I understand that it just blows people's feeds up.
Yeah, it does. The Scale does that too. But what they do is for each room, and there's, like almost like 200, they have the full recording from each room, and then they go back and make separate recordings for the keynote speakers and a lot of the other speakers. So they have their own talk videos.
I think DEF CON's good. Everybody should go back and watch. I could watch some stuff Arthur's posting. It'll
a pain in the ass. Yeah, I saw that, Arthur.
Give you a better insight into how futile your security, privacy hobby is.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Cool.
I like watching Black Hat too, when they allow you to and put them out. One time I was able to watch some of the feeds, and that was really nice.
Did we get anything else going on this afternoon? Anybody up to anything fun?
Well, if I have time, I'm going to start playing with my Arc GPU.
Are you gonna like serve it tea?
Yeah.
Go on an adventure, take a walk. Yeah, that recorded well. Everything's
Yeah, this
fine.
is I'm so happy it's going to fit in 2 of my cases, so I got to decide what computer to put it in.
Yeah, it's not massive, is it?
No, it's really a good size. I mean, if you like the 2 micro ATX cases I want to put it in are 12-inch max, and this just comes just under. So that was another reason I got this particular model, because it came in just under 12 inches to fit in those cases.
It's like 2 point and a little bit slot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Should be good. Well, at least you're not like angrily porting it. You're just furiously porting.
Oh, Rohit.
All right. Yeah, I gotta get to work. podcasty stuff. So
Okay.
I think everything
Did
looks
okay.
good. We don't have any options. I guess we can check the temperature of old. Let's scroll through our bash history until we find the IP address.
Yeah.
Raspberry Pi. And see what we were up to last. What was I up to last? Oh, I was running iPerf. NetPerf, I take that back.
Oh.
It's because I was seeing what the latency difference was having this thing plugged into the fiber switch versus directly into the router. Do I have a password? I have a password on the Pi. I need to fix that. What is the Mooncliff for I can never remember that command.
Will do, Joe, of course. Yes. I can't wait to play with it. Game on it.
VCG VCgen command measure _10 bar. There we go. 47 degrees. That fan's not even on. All right. Yeah, it's just chilling out, doing its thing. It's not even a load on the system. We got like
Nice.
6% load. We're using under a gig of RAM for 2 people.
Yeah, Strider. I'm curious what it will do with 4K gaming across 3 monitors. It might be more efficient than the AMD card.
Right, everybody. Well, that's going to wrap us up. I don't think I'm forgetting anything. I think we're good.
Okay.
Come hang out with us on Friday if you're looking for something to do.
Mm-hmm.
We're doing Trackmania. I gotta go back and because on Tuesdays we got a different mix now. We're dropping in like 20 tracks. Tuesday's a big day. Tuesday afternoon, starting at 5 p.m. where we're going through like 20 different tracks, new tracks,
Wow.
tracks that we normally wouldn't pop in, getting votes on them, figuring out which 10 that we're going to come back and play on Friday. And it's interesting to see everybody's takes on, because the voting.
Yeah. What's their favorite?
Yeah, like who
Yeah.
likes what? And we end up with the best ones, and people are like getting shocked on Fridays because we're only playing the maps that everybody likes. Like, no, it's not over. No, we've clearly skipped maps. I'm like, no, we haven't.
Yeah.
We haven't. We were just having a good time. That happens when you're just having a blast the entire time. So
Yeah, absolutely.
I had a couple of maps sneak in that were multi-lap because the filter apparently didn't work. So I got to pull those up, which is fine. Again, we got like 20 maps to go through. And we had one map that, one of the maps was the checkpoint wasn't registering. So I think Gametron posted in Trackmania.
Okay.
Gametron tracked down what wasn't working, like one of the last checkpoints, which really sucks because it's a challenging map, but it's a really fun map, and we were getting through it, but we couldn't figure out how to finish it.
Oh,
You
boy.
can get into this wackiness if you want.
Yeah. I was so bummed I had to miss it because of the stupid power outage. I was so bummed. Because it was like 20 minutes beforehand. I was doing my show notes. And all of a sudden, everything started flickering. I'm like, oh no, today was the day. And I forgot about the scheduled maintenance.
So we're going to be doing that Friday.
Yay.
If you want, all the information's in Trackmania's, and we do a Cups match. And this week, all of the Cup of the Days for Trackmania 2020 are open, free to play for everybody. So we're definitely going to be doing Cup of the Day after. So if you want to play Trackmania 2020, completely free, you don't have to spend any money. You can join us for that as well. And we did Turbo Golf last week in the after show, which was always fun to revisit that, and had a good time with it.
Yay.
So that's going to wrap that up. Jordan will be back Thursday, which is the tomorrow day. Probably more Baldur's Gate 3 as well. And of course, Linux Gamecast Weekly on Saturday. All right, everyone. Have a great rest of your week if I don't see you until next. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Love you all.